In my opinion, Condition Specter is highly underrated in PvP right now. It is very strong in duels and in teamfights, and can even hold itself in 1-on-1s. The build's greatest strength is that it is so versatile. It can pressure targets and switch in an instant to support and allies. I'm Surma, and today I'm gonna explain everything you need to know about this build. Without much further ado, let's jump right in. You're a condition build, so you want to run carry and MLM for maximum condition damage and also some defense of vitality and also some power damage. You want to combine that with the Rune of the Necromancer, just for more condition damage. And Relic of Demon Queen. It's so strong, it gives you another poison application when you disable a foe and you have quite a lot of stuns, bases and stuff. But it will also decrease the healing of enemies that have poison on them from 33 to 50% decrease. So that's really strong. For weapons you want to run Specter Pistol in one hand and in the other hand Sword Dagger. Sword Dagger is your defensive weapon set, so to say. On it you want to run Cleansing and Escape. You can also go for Energy on Escape, Cleansing and Energy. There are some mixtures you can go here, but in any case I would go for defensive ones. On your offensive set you want to go for Venom and Misery, both to increase your duration of your most damaging combos, which are Torment and Poison. So that's straightforward. Before I go to the traits, I want to remind you, if you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe, I would really appreciate it. Now to the traits. So for the traits, you want to run Deadly Arts, Trickery and Specter. So Trickery is of course in PvP, almost all thief builds run this. So you get initiative when you steal, you get some expertise, but most importantly you get 3 more maximum initiative. And the expertise is actually quite good on a Condi build as well. And then your steal gains reduced recharge and you do more damage per initiative spent, so quite nice. Then you get some boons when you steal also to your allies, so you support them a bit. And then you steal boons from enemies, which is really strong, and you give vigor to enemies, to allies, which is really important, the boon steal, because you can steal boons before this trait, the days on your steal procs. So you can steal stability, which has priority, and then you interrupt them with your days. So that's really strong, for example, when you interrupt the signet of a guardian or a glyph of an elementalist. So it's really strong. Be aware that this is also going to your siphon, because you don't have access to your steal, that's your siphon. Really strong. So this trait line is really important because you get a lot of steal amplification and recharge reduction. Then Deadly Art is your only damaging traits. It's a lot of damage you get from this trait line. So you get some more poison application from stealing. Then you get every 10 seconds some weakness application when you poison enemies. And you deal a little bit more damage. So you get more condition damage, and your dual skills, and you have 2 of them in both weapon sets, will apply some poison. You see you have a lot of poison application, that's why the Demon Queen is so strong. And then you immobilize if you immobilize a foe, you get also poison, you will poison them, which is really good. And if you strike a foe every 30 seconds below the health threshold, you will also immobilize them, which is really nasty in some circumstances. And then your poison is increased damage of it, and the duration as well. And every other trait in this trait line will get 1 more stack. It's really, really important because this amplifies your damage even further. So that's it for the core trait lines. And now to Specter. With Specter you get access to your Shroud, which is like the Necromancer Shroud. It degenerates after every seconds, but it is a second life pool, which you can fill up, for example, by using Siphon on enemies and landing it. It's really important because it gives a lot of, let's say, potent conditions on them, like slow and poison and vulnerability, and also the days, but it will also give you so many boons. It's really important. So when you land the Siphon with this trait, you will also transfer a condition from you to your enemy, and you will remove a condition from your tethered ally. So you can always tether one ally when you go in Shroud with Specter. So that's why you are so good in, let's say, 2v2s or something. And you cleanse one conditions of them when you siphon. Really strong. Because you can also cast it on allies, and then you don't get the boons. Don't get the CC and the nice conditions as well as the life force or the shadow force, but you will get some barrier and cleanse them. So it could be worth it, especially because the cooldown is lower when you do that. And you get some nice torment. If you heal an ally, or let's say grant barrier to them, you will get this Rottweiler venom to them, which then applies torment on the next attack. So in, let's say, more easy terms, you apply torment to the enemy they hit. Really important. And you get some barrier when you land a stealth attack, but also when you apply stealth to allies, you will grant them barrier, which can be a lifesaver because you can save stealth, let's say, area stealth attacks for allies if you really want to play that social. And then you have Traversing Dust. You get some resistance on your wells, but most importantly, you can heal with your shadow steps, and you get life force for each target that is in range from your shadow steps. It's really, really good access to life force because otherwise you struggle a bit to get that. And then Hungering Darkness is really strong. So while you're in Shroud, you get the conditions from your ally, but you cleanse them every 3 seconds. One condition that is. And each condition that you move in this fashion will heal you. And that can be quite substantial over the course of time, which is really nice. Especially you can also give some barrier to your allies with this. So you're really supportive, you help cleanse conditions and give barrier and heal. So it's really strong. And that's why this build is so versatile, because you have so much support baked into this kit, even though you play a lot of damaging trade lines. So let's start with the utility skills before I get to the weapon skill. So you can Withdraw is really strong because it cleanses the movement impairing conditions as well as torment and is evade backwards. You can also use this, of course, like in forward if you want to with about face. And you have your must-have skill that on Thief is Shadow Step because it's so strong. It's a stun break and it will give you the ability to, for the next 15 seconds, to go back, which will also cleanse 3 conditions. And it's another stun break. So that's really good for decapping, for getting out of dangerous situations, and also choking enemies, of course. Always have that on your bar. Then you should always have Shadowfall on your bar. It's the elite well because it's really strong. It gives you resistance, of course, with traits, but it's also a pull. And that's quite nice in Conquest because if fights are really located on a point, you can easily land that on many targets and that can win the fight. If you feel like you really want another well, you can go for Well of Gloom. It gives you resistance and is a teleport, but in most cases this is the better option because it will allow you to get out of sticky situation, because if enemies land and immobilize on you, it can be deadly. This one won't help there, but this one will. So for the other 2 utility skills that I did not show yet, you can swap them up if you feel like it. Really good is Well of Bounty. You get some nice boons for you and your allies. It's a Shadow Step as well. And of course the resistance because of your traits. It's a nice one. It's not a stun break or anything, so be aware that this is, say, filling up a slot that you might have, let's say, more damage or more stun breaks in it. And you can also go for Blinding Powder. It's really strong. That's a blast finisher, so you can combo this with your Smoke Field to get area stealth, and also is a nice stun break with stability on it. So if you used it correctly, it's a really strong escape tool. So these 2 you can use. I would recommend it most of the time, but you can swap them up. For example, there are 2, maybe 3 options that are really strong. So one of them is Prepare or 1000 Needles. So it's a trap. So you lay it down, and when it's prepared, will leave a field on the ground like this. And then if an enemy walks into it and you trigger it, then they will get immobilized for quite a long time, and it can be really nasty. And it's unblockable, so you can immobilize them even when they block and give a lot of conditions to them. So it's like your AoE strong, nasty skill. But it's like a really offensive one. So if you feel like you need more support, you can go for this, of course. And if you want to go for a little bit of a mixture, you can go for the Signet of Shadows, because it has such a low cooldown. You will get some nice weakness and blind application, and also some really nice burst damage with the vulnerability. That's the second option. And the last option would be the same, another preparation. So Seal Area. So that's like Sanctuary to some extent. So if you, let's say, arm it, and then after the preparation is done, you can like make a bubble that will prevent enemies' projectiles and also prevent them from leaving or going in the enemies themselves. And it's unblockable, so it can be really strong on Conquest to deny someone from leaving or coming in to a fight. So that can be all of them can be run in some mixture, however you would like them. I feel like that's the most defensive one, or the most, let's say, straightforward one. But the other preparations can be really strong, especially if you combine it with really high-level shadow portal plays where you can port all over the place. You have a lot of options here as well. But I would say those require a lot more thinking, and these are quite easy to play. You can also swap that depending on the enemies you face, of course. Now to the weapon skills. Let's start with the, let's say, more straightforward one. So Sword Dagger, you have some nice stealth here, some torment application, bouncing projectile. Then you have a teleport, which will immobilize if it lands. You can also teleport to a target that is out of range, and you will just go as far as you can. And you can go back to the point where you started, which is really good because it will also cleanse a condition, and you can go in and out of the fight so that enemies can't really get to you. It's really strong. And then your 3 skill is an evade. And if you land it, it flips over to another skill, which will deal heavy damage and is unblockable, and steals 2 boons. And with the traits, it will also apply poison. So it's quite a nice skill as well. For your stealth attack, you get some nice days. And then your Scepter Pistol, that's your offensive one and the most, let's say, iconic one for Spectre. So you have your Black Powders, your Smoke Field. If you combo that with your, for example, Blinding Powder, you get some nice area stealth. Then you have your Headshot. It's a nice, say, interrupting skill on range. You can also interrupt, for example, Signets or something with this if you don't have Siphon of cooldown and the enemy doesn't have any stability. And then your 2 skill got just buffed, gives your allies some barrier and might. Not that bad, but most of the time you want to use your 3 skill. It's really, really strong. So it will port you back if you target an enemy, and will port you to your target if you target an ally. The ally will get barrier, reach, and quickness if you do the flip over skill, that is, on them. It's really strong. See quite a lot of barrier, quite a nice support. And if you do that on an enemy, you will port backwards, but you will get access to the flip over skill, which will give slow and torment. It's really nasty because it hits so often, and the slow is really, annoying to deal with. And the first hit, so the teleport back, will also apply immobilize, so it's most likely to land that you land all of the Endless Night hits. So that's the bread and butter of this, let's say, build. And then your 1 skill, you can spam them, of course, to your enemy, but most importantly, you can also do that to your allies. So you can target your allies, and that will give nice barrier. And it's quite a fast attack, especially when you have quickness, and you give quite a nice amount of healing with this. And your Siphon, like I said, is quite important to get your life force up. Your Shadow Shroud has also quite a nice, how's it called, amount of abilities. You have some ranged damage and healing on your 1 skill, some AoE damage and condition cleanse for your allies, and it's the blast finisher. And then you have some deep finisher, which you can combo in your, if you lay the Black Powder down and go into your Shroud, you can combo this easily to get stealth, and it will give some barrier, and it will, if in the landing spot, it will fear enemies. So that's your another CC you have. The 4th skill is some heavy condition pressure and some nice damage as well. And your 5 skill after a short delay will stun enemies around you. You see that by some expanding AoE, and it's a blast finisher as well, so you have nice access to blast finishers. So if you combine it, really you can combine them both because they are delayed with your black powder to get even more stealth, area stealth that is. And it also gives some stability as well, so your shroud is really strong. So that's it so far for the build. You can see in the background how easy it is to burst enemies with your combo, and especially in this meta where a lot of builds don't have that much Condi cleanse, this is a really strong build that is actually quite underrated in my opinion, especially as you have so many support capabilities as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like. If you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.